Hello everyone, this is Kona, and thank you for tuning in for another TF2 commentary. I'm continuing my quest to master the arcing weapons of TF2, and I am now working on the Demoman. The Demoman's a bit tricky because he has multiple arcing weapons. When you think arcing weapons, you kind of just think Demoman automatically because pretty much all of his weapons do that. You have the grenade launcher, you have the lock and load, as well as a sticky bomb launcher and the Scottish resistance. Now, when I was talking about mastering the arcing weapons, I was mainly talking about the weapons that did damage on impact. That does not include the sticky bomb launcher. I do have to really work on sticky bomb launchers, but a lot of that weapon is kind of anticipating the enemy's moves and putting traps in places that people are not looking. That can be a little bit tricky to do, and that just takes a little bit of practice, but I really wanted to work on my pipe bombs. You can see here I am just owning them with the lock and load. So much fun with this weapon. When TF2 first came out, there were very few classes that actually had an arc to them. The only two that I can recall in terms of the default weapons is the Demoman with the grenade launcher and the medic with the syringe gun. But let's face it, if you're playing as a medic, you're most likely healing people, you should be healing people most of the time, and only in a last resort kind of effort will you take out the syringe gun or your melee weapon. People who play soldier a lot might get used to the Demoman a little quicker than most other people, because you have that time that the projectile spends in the air. It's not quite like the rocket launcher, but at least when you play soldier, you learn how to lead your target and compensate for the time that the rocket travels in the air. It's the same for the Demoman. You have to kind of anticipate your opponent's moves and lead your target kind of a lot in order to compensate for the time that these pipe bombs are in the air. Before I worked on Demoman, I played a bit of Scout, trying with the Sandman and Guillotine combo, and I was missing a lot, and I was wondering, why am I missing so much with the Scout? When I went to Demoman, it was a lot easier, and I was wondering why. And I think it's because when you play as the Demoman with the grenade launcher or the lock and load, there's no startup delay, there's no delay for firing. As soon as you click the mouse button, the grenade is pretty much fired and on its way. Whereas when you play Scout, when you launch the baseball with the Sandman or you throw the guillotine, there's a slight delay before the projectile actually leaves your hand and goes in the air. So that's why I think that I'm having a little easier time with the Demoman, because I don't have to compensate for that extra delay. By the way, Spy, he tried to cloak in. That pyro just ruined his day. Now, the technique that I use for playing Demoman is, I call it the flicking technique. I don't know if it's officially called the flicking technique, but I call it that. Basically, what I try to do is line up the crosshairs as best I can, even though it's a moving target. And at the very last moment, I try to flick a little bit off to the side to compensate for their movement. And just at the right moment, then I actually click and fire the grenade. I find that it works a little bit better on moving targets. For still targets, you don't have to flick, obviously, just kind of line up your shot and fire. And also aim a little bit higher to compensate for the actual arc in the grenade. But on moving targets, I really like to use the flick technique. It actually works not on just Demoman, but it works on pretty much any projectile that's going to spend some time in the air. Even actually sniper, where even the sniper rifle, even though that there is no firing delay for the sniper rifle, there's no projectile or anything. The flick technique is still pretty useful. So many pyros. That's the one thing about Demoman, it's bad. But yeah, that flick technique is actually useful for multiple classes, so I'd recommend practicing that. By the way, here, I just wanted to show some man versus machine stuff. If you didn't know, Demoman is super effective in man versus machine, because you can use the sticky bombs as well as the pipe grenades. Now, my technique for man versus machine is only use the sticky bombs for killing these medics. You see these medics when they drop down, just wait for them, boom, and I kill a lot of them pretty fast. The pipe bomb is the main weapon I use to dish out damage on the actual robots themselves. You have to practice a little bit because you have to compensate for the arc, and especially for these destructor heavies, they can reflect the pipe bombs back, so sometimes they just kind of bounce off of them. But as you can see here, the pipe bomb is really useful because the enemy likes to bunch up. You know, this is like the one weapon that's like designed for mob horde type of game modes, because you hit one and the blast damage will hit pretty much everyone around that person. You see doing so much damage, and our scout there. Thank you for collecting the money. You always need some sort of money collector, because no way I'm going in there. You can see how much damage I'm taking. One other thing that I want to mention for Demoman with the sticky bomb launcher, this works with the Scottish resistance as well. It really helps if you have a Kritzkrieg medic and you do what's called a pre-crits. Because the Kritzkrieg can recharge very quickly before the round starts in MVM, I would recommend you lay down crit stickies and then recharge the crits again. It's really useful against tanks or setting up traps before the actual wave starts. Now you may be wondering why I'm using the default grenade launcher rather than the lock and load, because the lock and load is designed to only dish out damage on impact. It's because sometimes, you know, you're just not feeling it, right? Like sometimes I am just not feeling it. I am not in the zone. I am missing all my shots. And at least with the regular grenade launcher, I have a backup. Just in case I don't hit them directly, at least they will roll and maybe I'll hit someone. Kind of like this. If I miss someone, it's okay. It'll hit someone in the mob somewhere, so at least I'm dishing out damage. But with the lock and load, if you try and play the lock and load on a bad day where you're not hitting anything, boy, it can be so frustrating because you don't hear any hit indicators, you don't see any damage being done by you, no yellow font above the enemies on how much damage you're doing. You're missing all the time, and it can get really frustrating. So what I usually like to do is I like to start off with the default grenade launcher. Play a few rounds of that just to make sure I'm warmed up, and if I feel confident enough, then maybe I'll switch over to the lock and load, because I'm getting a lot of hits with the default grenade launcher. I kind of in the zone, by the way, here. Taunt button. Wasted crit canteen. But yeah, sometimes I want to be in the zone first before I go to the lock and load and really lock in and home in on those kills. Sometimes just I'm not into it and I'm just not feeling it, and oh boy, it can be so frustrating to miss. If you're still missing with the standard grenade launcher, I would recommend going into man versus machine mode and having a little bit of fun. Just getting some kills to boost your confidence, because it can be really frustrating to miss a lot of grenades. With this man versus machine mode, there's enemies everywhere, so you're most likely going to hit something, and when you see your kill feed light up white, I'm sure you'll feel a lot better. Also, make sure you don't stand too close, because there is some blowback, there is some splash damage with the grenade launcher, so you don't want to stand too close and fire away. You're going to kill yourself. Now, my question for you guys is, which one is your favorite? Do you like the default grenade launcher with the rolling grenades, or do you like to go pro and go with the lock and load with a direct hit? Also, would you give up your sticky bomb launcher for, let's say, the charge and targe or the splendid screen with the charging ability? Would you give that up? Because I know a lot of people like the ability to set sticky traps with the Demoman, and to give that up for charging is kind of difficult sometimes to decide which one to go with. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day.